Hello and welcome everyone, this is Calebovitsch coming to you with the second part of the Briar Draft Guide Trilogy. Oh, yes, I know I've talked a lot and then some in the first video, so prepare yourself for a lot of talking in this one as well. Alright, so we have Briar, the keeper of the Rosetta Thorn, Rosetta Thorn being probably the best card for Briar, but there are a lot of other cards that you can draft and play if you want to go for Briar, so let's talk about them. And let's start, as usual, with the Legendaries. Unfortunately, the first Legendary I don't have with me right now, but this is Spellbound Creepers. It is a Rune Blade equipment on legs. It has 1 armor, which is quite strange for this for this set, with Blade Break. Once per turn instant. For 1 resource, put a bind counter on this equipment. You may play your next non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. Activate this ability only if you have attacked or defended with an attack action card this turn. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Spellbound Creepers unless you have dealt arcane damage this turn equal to or greater than the number of bind counters on Spellbound Creepers. Okay, so what this does, it does Veil of Flash for all your, or at least for one of your attacks into non-attacks in a turn, which is quite a lot. And even if you do it just once, it's going to be great because it already works at least as well as your Sutcliffe Hides. I mean, they work in a bit the other way around, but I'm gonna get to them later. And sure, yes, these would be a rather high pick if you want to be going for a Rune Blade, sure, especially that they're just legendary. And well, let's not kid ourselves. If you get any of these legendaries in a draft, you're gonna first pick them. Okay, this one is slightly too big. Let's adjust. Okay, there we go, even better. Okay, so yes, this would be a very good addition to your deck. Let's not kid ourselves. Is this better than Suede Hides? It's probably at least as good. I mean, it's as good +1 defense on your next opponent's attack. Because let's say that you use this once on one of your turns, and it allows you to attack with Rosetta Thorn powered up. So you're dealing 2 arcane damage to your opponent. And let's say your next hand doesn't have anything going for it, and you will not be able to deal any arcane damage to your opponent to sustain these Spellbound Creepers. Then what do? You block for 1. And you're ahead. Even more so than that. Okay, Crown of Seeds and Shock Charmers are obviously very good pieces of equipment, and they are they're probably much better than their counterparts, than their common counterparts. I wouldn't be sure about Shock Charmers versus Mark of Lightning. That's going to depend on your end Briar build. But you're just first picking them, so yeah, that's easy, that's plain and simple. Also, I would like to, at this point, remind you that these are just my personal notes and observations, and your mileage may vary. Okay. Next up, we have the Mythic weapon, Duskblade. For 1 resource you can attack for 2, such as with Rosetta Thorn. When you attack with Duskblade, if you've played an attack action card and a non-attack action card this turn, put a +1 counter on Duskblade. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't played an attack and a non-attack this turn, remove all +1 counters from Duskblade. So, theoretically, you could power it up to 3, 4, 5, 6 physical damage. Isn't it better to just deal 2 arcane in a format where they cannot block the arcane damage? And the answer is, yes it is. So even if you might want to pick Duskblade, remember, this one is banned in Classic Constructed, but it's still playable in Blitz and in Draft and in Sealed. It's, in my opinion, inferior to Rosetta Thorn. It's just plain old, not worth it. Next card that only Briar can play in this draft format is Pulse of Candlehold. It's an Earth Lightning action, And this is one of the non-attack actions that can actually block for 3, which is very important, especially if you consider Briar and her embodiment of Earth allowing your non-attack actions to block for more. It's legendary, it has Go Again, it costs 0. I mean, it has Go Again, it costs 0, it's a non-attack action, so you already want to pick it in Briar. Put up to 2 target Earth, Lightning, and or Elemental action cards from your graveyard on top of your deck. Banish Pulse of Candlehold. In general, yes, it is very sweet. It is not only combogenic for your current turn, it is very combogenic for your future turn, because you're just putting your best 2 cards from your graveyard on top of your deck, and that is really huge. And even if you just want resources, it's still a yellow, so it still pitches for 2. So that's great and amazing. Also, it fuses for both of your needs, for both Earth and Lightning. So all of this makes Pulse of Candlehold a really good card, a really top pick for Briar. And remember, only Briar currently has both Earth and Lightning, so she's the only class that can play this card. And as I said in the first video, the value of fusions is rather high in this one. Also, once again, drafting elemental cards before drafting class cards allows you to stay open and maybe go into one of the other heroes. Okay, but those things aside. Channel Thunderstep, it's a 1-cost lightning action aura that blocks for 3 with Go Again. So it's like an attack, sorry, it's like an action for 1 with Go Again. So that's already quite decent. Whenever you play an action card, you may pay 1 resource. If you do, it gains Go Again. This one is usually not that necessary. I would rather play a 0-cost non-attack action with Go Again. But if you don't have an abundance of these, Channel Thunderstep is still okay. It's much worse for Briar than Channel Mount Heroic, but still. Blink. It is a lightning instant that gives you 1 attack point. But there's a problem with instants for Briar. She doesn't care about instants. She cares about playing non-attack actions or attack actions as instants, usually non-attack actions. But when it comes to instants themselves, they don't trigger anything. So this is a lightning card that pitches for 3, and that's it. I mean, if you want to gain action points, you would much rather, much rather, combo with the Flash, because it's a non-attack action and it can give her Embodiment of Lightning, it can give her Embodiment of Earth, it can trigger Rosetta Thorn's attack, etc. So Blink, not that much. Channel Mount Heroic. If you've seen any constructed gameplay, you know how explosive this can be for Briar. I mean, there is a setup turn where you have to pay 3 for this by pitching usually a blue Earth card. It has Go Again. Attack action cards you control have +3 attack, but you have to use up Earth cards from your pitch zone to keep Channel Mount Heroic in play. But on your next turn, if you can go for at least 2 attack actions, then it's already +6 attack. You just needed some setup. And I mean, if you play Channel Mount Heroic into another non-attack action, you can even create an embodiment for your next turn for that setup. Once again, combogenic. Tome of Harvests. It's a 3-cost blue Earth non-attack action that blocks for 2. As an additional cost to play this, put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck, draw 3 cards, Go Again. So essentially, you give up 1 card that is blue, 1 card that is Tome, 1 card from your arsenal to redraw 3 cards. But what you have gained is having played a non-attack action, which is already a lot for Briar. Also, this pitches for 3, so it allows you it fuels your great turn. So yes, Tome of Harvests, yes. So from these, I would say these 2 are the 2 best ones, depending on what you're going for. Then Channel Thunderstep, then probably going for a walk, and then Blink. As far as the other Majestics go, we have Force of Nature, Flicker Wisp, Blossoming Spellblade, and Sting of Sorcery. And let's start with the non-elemental Runeblade Aura. It's a 0-cost non-attack action with Go Again, which already makes it amazing for Briar. Attack action cards you control gain. When you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy this. So it stays in your game for a moment, and it allows you to deal 1 or 2 additional arcane damage to your opponent. If you need, you can pitch it for 3 resources, and it gives you those embodiments and additional arcane damage from Rosetta Thorn, etc. So this is probably just a better version of Bramble Spark. Force of Nature, 0 cost. Go again, non-attack action. Blocks for 3, which is already amazing. Earth Fusion, whenever an attack action card you control hits this turn, if its attack is greater than its base attack, draw a card. Say, what? And if this was fused, your next attack this turn gains +1 attack. So turn a lot of your attacks into snatches. That's one. If you have Channel Mount Heroic in play, that's insanity, because that's like a chain into chain. And I've heard about 30+ damage rounds in Classic Constructed with these two having been set up. And yes, once again, the fact that it's a 0 cost non-attack action with Go Again makes it already amazing, and the effect is great as well. So next up we have Flicker Wisp, another 0 cost non-attack action with Go Again. This one has Lightning Fusion. If this was fused until the end of turn, action cards effects you control that deal arcane damage instead deal that much arcane damage +1. Deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. Go again. So we get to deal 2 arcane damage to your hero already with this. It's not an attack action card, so it's not going to give any embodiment of Earth to the opponent, but it's still, if you fuse it, 2 arcane damage, go again. And then maybe you can even go for Rosetta Thorn, who knows. Last but not least, we have Blossoming Spellblade. It's the double fusion. It's a 2-costing red attack for 6. If this was fused, it gains whenever this deals damage to an opposing hero, you may banish a non-attack action card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant, and if it would be put into your graveyard, instead banish it. When you attack with this, if this was fused, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero, because why not? So this is also kind of like a Veil of Flash, +1 arcane damage. It is it is much more difficult to use because it needs both Earth and Lightning cards in your hand, but it is once again very combogenic, so theoretically you have a chance because, as I said, you want to have a lot of Lightning cards, you want to have a lot of Earth cards for your fusions, so if you pitch a yellow or a blue to play this and you still have 2 cards in your hand, one being a Lightning card, one being an Earth card, or if you're very lucky having a Pulse of Candlehold, you attack for 6, and then you can play one of those cards. Either you can play one of those cards from your hand and... let me back up. And then you play the non-attack action card from your graveyard by pitching one of those 2 cards that you've used for the fusion. And if that one has Go Again, then you can still go for Rosetta Thorn for 2+2, or you can even play the remaining card from your hand. So once again, quite a good one. It needs a lot of setup, so I would say it is worse than these 3 0-cost non-attack actions, but it's still quite a good one. Okay, moving on to elemental cards. Oh wait, no, we still have regular basic equipment before we get to those. So we have head, arms, and boots that Briar can play. The Earth Head is okay. I mean, it's better than Ragamuffin Hat, but to pay 3 to return an Earth action card or Earth instant from your graveyard to your hand, I mean, sure, it's a big attack at the very least, so that's more than alright. Mark of Lightning. Now that's a great one, because whenever a lightning or elemental attack you control is defended by a card from hand, you can destroy this to deal 1 damage to the defending hero, and if you have some ball lightnings on the stack, sorry, on the combat chain, then it is more than 1 damage. And obviously, Sutcliffe's Suede Hides attack reaction for 1 resource and destroying the boots. Target attack action card gains Go Again. Activate this ability only if you have played a non-attack action card this turn. So similar to what we have with Spellbound Creepers, but kind of the other way around. Both mean that you can combo quite well, but the non-attack... No, wait, it's still good. Never mind. And using this on a good turn means at the very least that you can still Rosetta Thorn for 2 and 2, but sometimes it means even more than that. So from these, I would say Suede Hides and Mark of Lightning, and Plume of Evergrowth much lower. Then we have Ragamuffins Hat, which is a filler, Runaways, which are filler, Deep Blue, which is quite good. I mean, what else? What else do you have? You don't have any chess piece that you can use for Briar, and this is one of the better ones anyway, because you can just use any card, put it on the bottom of your deck to gain 3 resources once per game. Okay, and Cracker Jacks, it is much worse than Mark of Lightning because it only gives +1 to one of your next attacks, unless you're going for a Force of Nature, but then you're happy because you have a Force of Nature. Anyway, moving on to the elemental cards. Maybe I shouldn't be hovering over those ball lightnings, but hey. All right, so I've been talking about this a lot, and the main thing you're looking for in Briar is Go Again, 0 cost, non-attack actions, because you will get those attack actions. Cards like Summerwood Shelter, although they are really amazing when it comes to Oldhim, here they kind of fall short because you don't want to be going for a defensive route, so usually I would not be that keen on playing these in Briar, especially that, once again, these are instants, they don't block by themselves, they are just support blocking, co-blocking with other cards. Also, let me just move a bit over here for a moment so that you can see those ball lightnings. So I wouldn't be playing these that much because instants just don't combo with what Briar wants to be doing. Weave Earth, Weave Lightning, and I think there was one more, or I might be mistaken. No, Weave Earth and Weave Lightning. These are probably the best buffs and 0 cost non-attack actions that Briar could hope for, aside from those Bramble Sparks, obviously. These are elemental, these are 0, these have Go Again, so these combo with the embodiment, etc, 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 so these are really high picks. Lightning Press, slightly lower, at least in my opinion. I mean, sure, the red one just go over for 3. You have to remember that target attack action card with cost 1 or less. So it doesn't work on those high cost earth attack actions and some of the Runeblade attack actions that cost 2 or 3, such as Evergreen, Autumn Touch, Break Ground, even Burgeoning. It does work on the Lightning ones, it works on the Lightning Fusion ones in Briar that I'm going to talk about in a moment, but this is probably somewhere on the line. Flash is a very interesting card, meaning the next action card you play this turn with cost 0, 1, 2, or greater gains Go Again and Go Again. But this is a zero costing non-attack action, which is already a lot for all the combos, as are the amulets. So don't rule these out. Next up, we have other non-attack actions, because this is the priority. We have Earthlore Surges, non-attack action with Go Again. But these are expensive. These cost 2. So these are slightly better for the Go High than for the Go Wide version, because you can like +5 and play an Evergreen for 7, so that's already 12 damage for 5 resources. but you care more about cards such as So Tomorrow, Electrify, because these not only are these the one cost play from Arsenal to draw a card variety with Go Again. So yeah, from all the non-attack actions, I think Earthlore Surge would probably be the lowest on my list. Which doesn't mean they would be low. I mean, you can still use the blue one for resources, and at one point you can use it to, you can use it to fuse, you can use it to buff up attacks. If you end up after a fuse with this in your arsenal, you're still fine. I mean, it's still pay 2, the next attack has +3, and it was a non-attack action with Go Again. Okay? With Electrify is easy, but as far as So Tomorrow goes, you have to have a target in order to play this. So if you're running a blue So Tomorrow, saying put target earth or elemental action card with cost 2 or greater from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck. So you have to be careful not to arsenal the blue one or the yellow one too early, because you might not have any targets in your graveyard and your arsenal might be stuck for a moment. But on future turns you might remember that and you want to block with those cards to have targets in your graveyard. Alright, now when it comes to the attacks, sorry, non-attack actions, we still have Invigorate and Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate is kind of a problem child. Sometimes you want to play it maybe for a mirror match, but usually you want to shy away from it. But as far as Invigorate goes, it is kind of a funky card that has been seeing some play recently in my draft groups, because it is a zero-cost non-attack action with Go Again. It boosts up fused attacks, which doesn't always come up. But when a red Invigorate comes up and it says the next attack you fuse this turn gains +4 attack, Go Again, then it's huge. Then it's as big as a Weave Earth. Like, it also says the next Earth Elemental attack, it was fused this turn, it gets +4. So it's kind of similar to a Weave Earth. But more conditional, kind of, because Weave Earth, if the attack was not fused, also gives a slightly lower buff, but still a buff. So, slightly worse version of Weave Earth, but still decent. As far as the attack actions, because I wanted to say that, they come into main groups, okay? So they are either big whopping attacks like Evergreen, Autumn's Touch, Break Ground, and Burgeoning, and honestly, you want some of those in your deck, because sometimes you are reduced to blocking, and you still can make a turn of pitch a blue attack for 7. And it's still a huge turn, because either the opponent blocks with at least 2 cards, or they take a lot of damage, and it's all about the damage race. The other side of the attacks are attacks with Go Again, because you can go like plain old non-attack action with Go Again, attack that already has Go Again, even if you don't have an embodiment of lightning, into Rosetta Thorn. So those would include Lightning Surge and Ball Lightning, more likely than Shock Striker and Heaven's Claws. But these are still quite alright. These are still usable for your fusions, but these come at a much higher these are much higher value for you than these two. So we are left with these attacks with Entwine Lightning. These also have Go Again if you've Lightning fused, and Entwine Earths. The red Entwine Earth has some uses because it's a 2-cost 6 attack, which is already big, and if you've Earth fused it, it gains +2 attack, so it's actually 8 for just 2 resources. So you can even pitch a yellow and attack for 8 and just arsenal the 3rd card, and you're still good. Okay, so those are the elemental ones. Once again, you want to go for 0-costing non-attack actions, and So Tomorrow and Electrify. Then you want to go for either Go Again attacks or big attacks. And yeah, you have to remember about the proportions. So let's finish it up with the class cards. So in this game, there is a cycle to everything. So for each of the fusions, you have 1 rare attack, 2 common attacks, and 1 common non-attack. Kind of, sort of. Anyway, Sigil of Suffering, especially the red one, is a really good blocking device because it blocks more often than not. It blocks for 4 and deals 1 arcane damage to your opponent. Even the yellow one that blocks for 2+1 and deals 1 arcane damage to your opponent is a good one. I did have a draft game where I was playing Lex, the opponent was playing Briar, and I was at 2, opponent was also quite low, and I loaded up my bow, my shiver, giving the arrow dominate. I boosted the arrow up with several things, and I attacked the opponent for lethal with dominate. To which opponent blocked with Sigil of Suffering from hand, the other from arsenal, dealing 2 arcane damage to me, and I was laughing my butt off. Because, yeah, I died at that moment. That was a very Kano-esque moment, by the way. Anyway, what these cards do are, okay, blocks. The Singeing Steelblade attacks are quite good. When you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. More often than not, in the early game, it is cool to just pitch these, especially the blue one, put it on the bottom of your deck, and in the second cycle, when your opponent is beaten low enough that 1 arcane damage might be the key to winning the game. So, more often than not, just pitch them early on, unless it's the red one, then you can just play it out, and use them as your finishing blows in the late game. Explosive Growth, Earth Fusion, if this was fused, whenever it deals damage, attacks you control gain +1 attack this combat chain. When you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero, it costs 1. It doesn't have Go Again. If this had Go Again from another effect like Embodiment of Lightning or Flash or something like that, it would be really good. Also, if you can just further enhance it with some other ways of dealing arcane damage, like Bramble Spark. If you Bramble Spark, it also makes this attack deal arcane damage, which also buffs this attack up. So you could go for some cool combos with that, but you need to give yourself Go Again. Rites of Replenishment, more often than not, is just a generic attack, and the Earth Fusion doesn't matter. So it is much better to go for Stir the Wildwood, that attacks for 3, 4, 5, or 2 more if you Earth Fused, or 2 more if you have dealt arcane damage to your opponent this turn, which is usually something like Bramble Spark or Singeing Steelblade or other kinds of shenanigans, Briar shenanigans. Bramble Spark, 0 cost, non-attack action with Go Again, the only one that the class actually has. It deals arcane damage. It makes, the next attack action card deal arcane damage. And if it was fused, it gives the next attack +1, 2, or 3 attack. So the thing is, if you are running a lot of Earth cards, obviously you want to go for the redder ones. But if you're playing a Lightning version, go for the blue one. Why not? You're not going to fuse it. All of these make your attack deal 1 arcane damage. You might as well pitch for more resources, right? Right. Okay, Rites of Lightning. It's for 1. It attacks for 2, 3, 4. When you attack with this, if this was fused, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. If you have dealt arcane damage this turn, this gains Go Again. So, non-attack action. This fuse, both have Go Again. Rosetta Thorn for 2 and 2. There we go, that's a good game plan. Veil of Flash, I've already talked about this in part 1. So this is another way to... this is pseudo giving it Go Again. This is more like those legendary boots, but you can go for it. Arcanic Shockwave, when you attack with this, if it was fused, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. So this is similar to Singeing Steelblade. This is also a very good finisher. This is also good to just put on the bottom of your deck. This does not have Go Again. And Inspire Lightning. This is a strange card for me because it's a non-attack action without Go Again that costs 1, that has Lightning Fusion. If this was fused, deal 1, 2, 3 arcane damage to target hero. So you might play some of these to have as your finishers if you're very good at procuring good pitches to do a second cycle for your deck, to just stack that arcane damage to the second cycle of your deck, then you should be fine with playing maybe one or two of these, but I would usually shy away from these. So to sum it up, Rites of Replenishment are kind of replaceable. This is your big attack. These are your go again attacks. This is your arcane damage, and this is your arcane damage with as a non-attack action into go again. So even though I'm not giving you any values from 1 to 10 or F to S, I hope you know which cards you want to be looking for during the draft while drafting Briar. And this is going to be it for part 2, card evaluation. In the next one, and the last part of the Briar Draft Guide trilogy, I'm going to go over a couple of deck examples, so stay tuned for that one.